Here's a Revel board, battery all opened up. Let me tell you, it was not easy getting into this. For one, you had a lot of this adhesive stuff and it was an absolute pain to get open. Honestly, don't even get me started. Apart from that, you also have an endless amount of screws all the way around the enclosure, which need to be removed as well. There was a rattling sound in the battery and I was wondering, what is that? And it turns out it was a snapped capacitor from the USB board, and thankfully this particular board is swappable, so I'm going to put that in. It's just 3 screws, easy to remove. It also came with these spare circuit boards. Wasn't quite sure where they went, but it actually seems like they are plug and play parts for the battery. Obviously you've got this one over here, which would be the main rail attachments with the prongs, and then you've got this large one here with various components, and same again, it has an input that's plug and play, and same with the other one. Also, if you're wondering where this particular metal part goes, it goes on the opposite side of the battery there. One thing that was confusing though is that I have these 2 small parts. I'm not quite sure where they're from. Getting the glue off can be a bit more difficult than it needs to be. I just use a flat-headed screwdriver and just kind of prise it off the best I can, and usually have to be a tiny bit rough. I'm just going to clean up the bottom of this with some isopropylene alcohol, partly because I'm not happy with whatever this powdery stuff is. It should definitely be cleaner than that. It could have just scraped against the other circuit boards in the box, although it was wrapped in bubble wrap. How on earth do you clean the inside of these USB ports when obviously the cotton bud is too big? Apparently the trick is to snap the cotton bud, dip that in your alcohol, and then twist between. Another pro tip that you might not hear very often is that you're actually supposed to go backwards when tightening in screws. The reason being is you'll hear a slight pop, so the left is loose, right is tight isn't actually necessarily true, especially when it comes to making sure you do not thread something wrong. There it is. As for putting the battery case back together, there are 18 screws to worry about, but most importantly, don't forget to put the button back in the right way. You want the more narrow side facing the outside of the casing. When you do this, it will stick out a lot more. Otherwise, if you get it wrong, it won't work. And don't forget to put the curved metal plate back on here. It's got curved sides which want to face inwards. Ignore these 2 screws here that go right down, because for some reason they just do not thread, and I've tried and tried and tried, and they're just impossible, to be honest. So you'll be fine without those. There's so many different screws on here. So you got left until you hear a pop, and then right. One thing you must not get wrong though with these screws, 4 of them are different. They have a completely flat sunken head, and the reason for this is they're for this part here. If you don't do that, these will not sit flush and the battery will not slide in perfectly. The other ones, the majority of them, have like a flat squared off edge, like a button,